So, again, thank you all for coming, and I really appreciate the feedback. Um, so, the nature of this interview is to get you all's, get some student feedback about the writing, I guess, part of the Arabic program here, and specifically corrective feedback in grammar, and how you all feel this helps or hinders your learning process. Um, so, um, no, even though we're recording the entire interview, we may not use everything, so just don't feel too pressured to, like, I don't know. I mean, my point is that this is going to be edited, so don't worry about embarrassing yourselves. I was like, like sometimes people get sort of like shy in camera or whatnot. Don't worry, we're not going to do anything that's incriminating. So, I guess the first question that I have is what or how do you perceive using Arabic writing or writing in Arabic as a skill in your all's futures? Like, I understand you're studying sociology, and I know you're in the department, in the center, excuse me. So, yeah, what benefit do you think writing in Arabic is going to be for you?
Gosh. I honestly don't know where I'm gonna go, but I'm hoping that with the flagship program that I'll be able to get a job using Arabic. So it's important to know how to write and well in Arabic. But I really don't know where it's gonna take me. So
Okay.
sorry.
No, that's a great answer. And how about you, Laura?
It's a pretty essential part of what I'm doing right now, as far as being in the master's program for Middle Eastern Studies. I need to have sort of research skills in Arabic so that I can find primary sources, and being able to write in Arabic helps me to better understand the actual sources that I'm using as far as grammar and being able to apply it.
So what do you see as, you've just talked about research skills and whatnot. And those are the benefits of learning in Arabic. So what do you see as the challenges of learning how to write in Arabic?
Well, I know I feel like it can be a very defeatist sort of task to undertake, because I've been told throughout the entire time that I've been studying Arabic that it's almost impossible to get to even near native proficiency, especially when it comes to writing. Writing in Arabic is one of the most difficult parts of learning Arabic. So I feel like just going into the whole process and knowing that there's a huge possibility that you won't even come close to being able to write like a native Arabic speaker. It's kind of not upsetting, but
It's a challenge.
it's a challenge.
Just talking about my experience is that starting out is really hard because I typically translate from English. I don't write it in English and then translate it, but I think in English still, and it's hard to change that. And I think as I get more used to hearing it and reading Arabic, then it'll get a little bit easier. But the challenge is not starting in English.
Mm-hmm.
So that's hard for me.
On this point that you brought up about it being a big challenge to write like a native Arabic, or like an educated native Arabic person would write. Certainly that is a challenge because of the linguistic differences, like not thinking in English but thinking in Arabic, and then after that not thinking in Arabic but thinking, not just thinking in Arabic, but thinking in a register that is, academic or journalistic, or, whatever your audience is. That's certainly a challenge because of a lot of the structural things that the language has that's unique to it. So this leads me to my next question. Do you think that learning how to write in Arabic is a good way to learn these structural differences, to learn the grammar, to learn,
Yeah. I definitely learn by writing things out, and
Mhm.
so actively using it rather than just kind of glancing at it in an article or a book is a lot more helpful. And like writing is, it makes me more confident actually when I read is when after I write something,
Mhm.
even if it's not very good.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, that being able to apply it and not just reading how it appears definitely sort of instills in my mind how the structures should be that make it sound more like Arabic or authentic Arabic than Arabic from native English speakers sort of mindset.
Very cool, thank you. So then, as part of like I guess the teaching methods that they use here for helping correct writing is what we call a minimal markup system. You know, where they use the qaf
Mhm.
for qawaid, or the kaf for kitaba, or like ha jim for harf jar. Like, what do you think of this system in helping, and do you think it's an effective tool for corrective feedback? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it?
I like it because I can look at it and I know something's wrong, and it kind of gives me a direction.
Just start over.
I like it because it gives me kind of a direction to see where I went wrong, rather than just them circling it.
It's something in the air.
Just start over.
Okay, I like it.
This will be in the bloopers.
I'm glad I didn't.
Yeah.
Okay, so you definitely like
I do like it. It gives me a direction to start in, and instead of like if somebody just circles something, I can just sit there and be like, okay, I know there's something wrong, but I may not. Like if it's something that I didn't understand, then I don't know where to start to fix it. So that's kind of nice. Also, you don't get a ton of red marks on your paper, which when you get your paper back and it's fully marked up, it's really defeating because you spent time on it. But yeah.
And not like not only does it just sort of tell you maybe what path you should go down to be able to correct it. So it tells you that something is wrong, it tells you what type of mistake, but it also sort of pushes me to go back and correct it rather than just seeing it the proper form of something.
to
If I
think
got
about
a
it.
word,
Yeah.
a verb incorrect, so that I don't just sort of take it for granted as it's written there by the professor, the instructor, that I actually have to learn, okay, well, this shape is incorrect. How do I go? Maybe I have to go to the dictionary and find what it really should be, and so that helps sort of to really establish how to correct what I'm doing and use it in the future.
Also helps self-edit, kind
Mhm.
of like
Yeah.
you know what they're looking for the next time,
Mhm.
and it helps you write the next paper after that, I think.
And your mistakes, like you said, self-edit. It's kind of like these are the mistakes that I made, not necessarily my classmate. So it
Right.
teaches you to correct yourself.
Yeah, because
And-
there's usually like a pattern of what you kind of miss throughout it, and so you learn from that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've had instructors in the past who they'll circle something, and so that confuses you as to what is exactly wrong. And then I've had professors who will write in Arabic what I did wrong, and it takes me a while to sort of get used to their own handwriting.
Yeah, that's
So
hard.
then to take time to just figure out what it is that they said, sometimes I would just, bypass that whole process and say, okay, I messed up, whatever.
Yeah.
Next time, maybe I'll figure it out. But this, it helps you, it's very clear
What they're talking about.
what is wrong with it, and then you have to go and figure it out.
That's an excellent point, like, that it's just enough.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
if it's a circle, then it's not enough direction, but if
Yeah.
it's too much, have
And you
an
just ignore
explanation
it.
and it's,
Yeah.
like, whatever. I say, I never hadn't thought about that.
It's really true, actually.
So, I guess the next process, particularly in your class, they
Mhm.
have writing conferences between you and the TA, or between you and the teacher.
Mhm.
What do you think of these writing conferences?
I've only had one so far,
Okay.
and I don't know if that is, part of the schedule that I was only supposed to have one, but my personal feelings of being a grad student and being stressed about, how much time I have to be on campus and how much time I have to allocate for different meetings and all that. That can be a little stressful. Of course, it'd be a huge waste of time to spend class time on going over mistakes or anything like that, so it's probably the best possible option. During my writing, like my meeting, I guess the TA went over my mistakes and I understood most of what he was saying, but at times he had circled so much that and I hadn't gone over the text to know exactly what I had said previously that I had handed in a week or two before. So I think it just added more time to me trying to figure it out. I think there needed to be maybe a more organized system for how he sort of went over the mistakes that I needed to fix to make it sound either more like Arabic or just the grammatical issues. So, like maybe taking out pieces and putting them in some sort of list for me to see it more clearly, point by point.
I had one last semester, and it was my only one that I've had, but I kind of had that sort of thing. I hadn't read my paper for a while, so when I walked in, I was like, I don't remember which one this is, and we looked at it, and I had to orient myself around what I wrote 3 weeks prior, so that was kind of hard, but I kind of liked it at the same time, because my teacher went over, like, the mistakes that I made. She explained them to me, but at the same time, she kind of, like, when you get your paper back, it's all marked up, and so you see the bad parts, but she talked about some of the good parts too, so that was kind of nice to hear, that it's not a complete failure.
Right.
So that was kind of nice, but yeah, I was confused as to what I wrote in the first place.
So, could you speak a little bit more, both of you speak a little bit more about what you think would better your experience with the writing conferences? I mean, it sounds like one thing is just going over what you wrote prior to the conference so that,
Yeah.
you're refreshed. But do you have any other suggestions you think would make your experience with writing conferences more beneficial?
Well, she had my corrections, so I didn't see the corrections until I went to her. So maybe if we got them back and took them with us, like we went over them before we went to go see them, that would help. I don't know, do you have any suggestions?
I mean, just what I said, it just seemed like, well, I had done original corrections from a peer review, and then when I went to meet with my TA, there were all these things that were circled or like question marks, and so, looking at that piece of paper, I got confused, what's wrong with that and what's wrong with that, and so I don't know if there's just some way of writing down on a separate sheet of paper, taking out this term and, writing like a cough or something wrong with the grammar or something like that. Yeah, it was a little more marked up than normal corrections would be, so I was getting a little confused by all the markings.
So, like, the markings that were there, were they not the cough, kef?
Some of them were just, parentheses around it because he was trying to figure out what my argument was, or that maybe the structure of the sentence could sound a little more like Fusha, or a little more formal than it actually was. So.
So what are the things you know, this is a little repetitive, but what are the things that you like and that you dislike about how you're taught to write in Arabic?
Well, when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. I know we started with like, I don't know, maybe 50-word paragraphs, and it took me forever to just start, and I couldn't, it was just overwhelming at first. So that was kind of not fun at all, to write something you knew it was horrible, turn it in, get it back, and it's marked up. But I mean, I don't really know how they would introduce us slower to it, so I don't know.
I was taught to write in a different program. So right
In
now,
Arabic?
in Arabic, but in a different program.
Mhm.
So this is my first semester actually being in the UT sort of language learning program. So now it's almost like a corrective process rather than just a pure learning process for me. So correcting all those things that I had never been told were incorrect, or that needed to be improved in some way. So I guess sometimes I would just like a little more clarity on certain issues. We've had to hand in sort of mudhakarat, or like weekly reading journals, and I've gotten comments back that, you know, I didn't use prepositions correctly or something like that, but I didn't get the actual journal back, so I didn't know what prepositions I'd gotten wrong. So I guess just a little more clarity on that part. Yeah.
Thank you. You mentioned something earlier about just learning how to write in Arabic was just difficult from the start, just
Yeah.
getting started.
It definitely got
Um,
easier.
Yeah, and it's certainly gotten easier. I mean, like, as you've
Mhm.
progressed, it certainly gets easier. And I imagine the same is, you know, like, it's gotten easier, or do you think it's gotten more difficult? I know that you're going through this process of...
Yeah, I've been used to writing 700-word plus essays every week, and then this semester, I think the max that we do each week is 350, and then every now and then we'll have a longer one that's 500 words. So, yeah, I've found it a lot easier,
Mhm.
but I think it's a quick learning curve. So.
Do you think that learning how to write in Arabic has helped you learn how to write better in other languages that you might write in?
It's made me understand grammar a little better in
Yeah.
English.
Yeah. I don't know if I'd say it helped me write better in English. I mean, in Arabic, when I write a paper, I have to really think about like what I'm gonna say, because I don't have the ability to like say whatever I want yet. I have to really think about it still. So I plan better, maybe, like maybe that transfers over into my English writing, but I don't know.
Oh yeah, no, that's certainly something that could. You're relying on other skills, you know, planning, being one of them. Very cool. Do you all have, I guess, any closing thoughts or anything about how you're taught to write, corrective feedback in writing, how writing is used to reinforce grammar lessons? Anything in closing that you'd like to add?
I mean, I know that I try to incorporate the grammar we just learned into my writing, so that's kind of helpful when I write it out, and it cements the knowledge, or I have to research it more, go back and learn something that I didn't remember as well. So that helps with cementing the grammar information. Yeah. And I do well with like positive feedback, so I think they do a pretty good job here of like, okay, you did this wrong, but overall I thought it was pretty good, so I thrive off of that.
Yeah, that's a good balance.
Yeah. Because if you just have that paper that's all marked up and you focus on the faults, it makes you never want to try again.
Right.
And I mean, not even just general positive comments, but I've like some of the more specific things. I guess one component of writing in Arabic that's very formal and I guess smiled upon is parallelism when you're talking or when you're writing. So a writer will say, we'll give you two of each and then two of each and then two of each, young and old, rich and poor, sick and healthy, and they'll just keep doing that. And I did that in one of my papers, and the instructor circled that and said that was a really good like use of more formal concepts. So that I actually liked the specificity in that comment. And it does force me to pay more attention to the grammar, I think, which is and has been my downfall in my Arabic learning process.
I guess one last question, it just came to me right now. How do you feel that the writing instruction here has helped you become a more independent writer or student of Arabic in general?
Do you mean like choice in topics and sort of going off in our own direction?
Or more as in taking issues that you know you have with the language that are specific to you and addressing them yourself. Because as you mentioned with the minimal markup system, that what you liked about it, it
Yeah.
was directed or gave you direction in correcting whatever mistakes that you have. Do you feel that this bleeds over into other skills like speaking or reading comprehension or something?
I think maybe in more unconscious ways, that I'll learn that the form that I've been using all along is actually incorrect to the meaning I'm trying to convey, and so it'll, after that point, I'll try harder to use the correct form or something along those lines.
I don't know if this is answering the question, but when I write in Fusha, when we have to do presentations in Fusha, since I'm a visual learner, I do a lot better if I've been corrected and I know the correct form, so I can speak it more clearly and I guess more correctly. Yeah, I don't know. Is that the answer? Is that an answer to your question, or I'm a little confused with.
If the process of corrective feedback and if the use for writing has made you cognizant of things that could help you in the other skills of the language.
Yeah, I guess in general, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you did answer the
Yeah.
question. You know, if you see it in writing, then it helps with your way you speak.
Mhm.
It definitely helps with reading, I think.
Oh, yeah. Reading.
When you can recognize what it is you've been trying to say, and you've been corrected now, and you know that's
Mhm.
what that means. Finally, when
When
you
you
go and
read
read
it, you
something,
can
you can
actually
recognize it because you remember. Oh, I got corrected on that term,
Yeah.
so now it's
Ingrained.
stuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you find that you are corrected to not use Amiya?
Sometimes. I haven't had that problem.
Yeah, it's taken me a while to separate out what is Fusha and what is Amiya,
Yeah.
but I don't think I've only been corrected maybe once or twice for that, and it was a simple thing that sort of blends between the two, and it would just be more Fusha if
You said this.
if I use another term, but it wasn't
Yeah.
like
No, I
life or
haven't-
death or anything.
I haven't really had that problem. Maybe once or twice when I didn't know which word was Fusha and which word was Amiya. But
I think
after
it-
that, I knew. So.
I think it's more of the structure of the sentence that I end up sort of more on the Amiya side, just because it doesn't sound as formal. but I think it's just because I think of it in English sort of way. That's the problem.
I guess to go back to the very first thing that we talked about and how you're planning to use Arabic writing in your future, specifically for research skills, or open future.
Yes.
My point is that there are different registers of writing in English. We've got more academic, more journalistic, which is going to have a broader audience than an academic article might. And this is no less true for Arabic writing as well. Do you see yourselves possibly engaging in, I guess, possibly the full threshold of writing? Like, what are the limitations, I suppose, to your goals for writing in Arabic? Are there any? Or is it?
It's hard. I don't see myself writing a novel in Arabic in the
Mhm.
future, but possibly like research papers
Mhm.
or I don't know, even a journalistic article maybe. I don't know.
Mhm.
Depends on what I go into, I guess. But
Yeah.
novel, I wouldn't write a novel in Arabic.
I mean, yeah, I'd agree. I probably wouldn't
I don't know.
be doing any sort of creative writing,
Mhm.
as far as whatever my future interests are. But being able to learn how to write that would help me to read it and
That's for
interpret Arabic novels and poetry a lot better, so that I can take the pieces that I want to focus on for my research, which would be more societal impacts or reasons for why they might have used a specific word
Mhm.
or phrase or anything like that, that I could then apply that to my research. So
Cool. Very cool. Do y'all have any questions for me?
No.
Cool. Well, thank you again. Appreciate it. Hope I didn't cause any shock or dismay or anything. Cool. And that's getting edited out. Right.